So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the ADHD Reframe Project with me, host Emma Craven. And today I'm doing something a little bit different. So, first of all, Neil, would you like to just do a bit of an introduction to yourself, please?
An introduction.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to know,
What everything.
Emma?
Everything. So, a little bit about your background, the work you're doing at the moment, the things you're setting up, or just a bit about your experiences around your ADHD and autism, diagnosis. Yeah, basically anything and everything.
Wow, that's not an introduction.
Okay,
You
so
want the last?
just a brief introduction then.
I'm Neil Glendenning. I'm basically the founder of the Neuro Inclusion Project and ND Care, which is basically looking at how to make it more inclusive for people that are neurodivergent, so people with ADHD, autism, Tourette's, and so on and so forth, and ways to do that. Currently, at the moment, I'm working on a project to create a course for RSD, which is taking up all of my time at the moment. I think that's pretty much it, really. I mean, there's nothing else that's really exciting that's going on at the moment. Just the general sort of normal stuff from day to day, really, of doing everything that I do as a founder, just to keep things going, really.
With me as your assistant. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how we managed to land there, but we did anyway. So, but yeah, so what a little bit. I know you've been a guest before, and so just could you just maybe talk us through a little bit of your diagnosis journey before we get stuck into the conversations we're going to have?
Wow, my diagnosis journey. So I've been diagnosed with ADHD. I think it's 4 times now. I'm just waiting for a 5th time so I can actually see another doctor on the NHS. So I've had 2 private diagnoses, and I've had actually had 3 private public health diagnoses as well for ADHD. I've got a diagnosis for emotional dysregulation. I'm awaiting confirmation of autism, and yeah, there's untold other things that are going on with me that basically affects me on a daily basis. I live with a very, as I'm sure a lot of people out there will agree, very debilitating conditions for day-to-day life, but something that you manage somehow every day to get through the day and start it all again tomorrow, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I've got a lot of different diagnoses, and my journey started very, very young. I wasn't diagnosed until I was in my 30s. So I lived through all of my life questioning everything about me and why I was so different and so on and so forth. To then get diagnosed in my 30s and then sort of go, wow, this is why. Gave a lot of clarity, a lot of questions, but a lot of clarity as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it, really.
For now.
Yeah, for now.
For now. So, if there's any of the listeners that are listening to this episode today, very brief. I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2019, age 43. Had no idea I had it before someone pointed it out to me. I have autistic traits. but I don't think I'd ever kind of go down that diagnosis route, and I don't really know why. I've also got fibromyalgia, complex PTSD, from adverse child events, trauma, depression, anxiety, nerve pain in my face. There's just, the list is endless. Endless. Now I know you and
Hang on, Em. I've got CPTSD and
ah,
bipolar and all of those things where the list just goes on and on and
yeah,
on. There's just so many different things. This is the thing with this, right? It's not that you just get diagnosed with ADHD. On your journey through life, you get diagnosed with so many different things. You come to a point where it's just like, well, it's just something else, isn't it? You know, there's another little another little tick in the box. When it just means that when I go to the doctors and they say, right, can you give me your history?
how long have you
It's just
got?
like, really, you want that now? The appointment's just not long enough.
We've only got 5 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's mad, isn't it?
yeah.
Mad.
And then
I'll be honest with you now, right? I've actually now got 2 things that I take to any doctor that I see for the first
go
time.
on.
One of them is my medication list, which they have anyway, but I always take a full medication list, what I take, when I take it, so on and so forth, which is basically an A4 sheet of paper that's just full of all of the things that I take, right? I literally shake. I'm on that much medication. And then the other thing is I take a brief outline history of what's wrong with me, what conditions I've got, what the codings are for those conditions, and so on and so forth. And when they ask me the question of, so have you got your history? I just literally give them the piece of paper. And then they just sit there, look at it, and go, oh, this is very detailed. And I'll go, yeah, it's just to make your life easier. And so then for 5 minutes, they just sit there on their computer, tapping out everything that I've written, right? So then they can upload it into their system. And then we start talking. It's so much easier. It really, really is so much easier than sitting there reliving every moment that you've gone through over the last 30 to 40 years of your life. You just give them the information that they want, they get on and do with it, and then you've got time to actually do something and achieve something, rather than sitting there for 20 minutes, half an hour of verbal diarrhea of what's been going on in your life.
Yeah. Great reasonable adjustment, Neil. I love that. So yeah, any of the listeners, if you have, I mean, that'd work. Yeah, that'd work really well for me actually as well, or probably most of the listeners. But I used to say, oh, I've got complex medical needs, and now I've reframed it as I'm medically interesting, because I just think that. I just think that sounds a bit nicer than kind of, yes, my medical needs are very complex. No, I'm medically interesting, and it's like, oh, it just makes it so then it's not like that negative kind of, the negative connotation or anything.
I think if I was putting myself in that kind of way, I'd put myself down as challenging but rewarding.
A good learning I don't know, learning. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sorry. Learning thing, but yeah, and I'm sure that it's not just you and I that are like this. I'm sure, like, the later on in life that I think neurodivergent people get diagnosed, unfortunately, the more kind of comorbidities that they can have, which is sad, really, but sad but true. So yeah, the reason why we're here today and I'm talking to you is because you and I had a discussion last week. I wanted to do something a little bit different. with the podcast, just a little bit different. It's not going to be that much different. It's still going to be our lived experiences, but it's just we're going to tailor it slightly to kind of his and hers experiences. And one of the main reasons why we talked about this and decided to do it is because of my frustration. I don't know why I'm stuttering then, because I'm like, oh, my frustration of social media and there being lots of videos of men discussing women's ADHD experiences. And then I don't know if you've had that same experience of women talking about men's ADHD
Yeah.
experiences.
Where have they actually got the information with regards to how it feels to be, you know, you can listen to what other people say. So I can listen to another woman talk about how it affects her and how she describes the the way it feels and how whatever limitations there may be or whatever feelings of empowerment there may be or whatever way it may go. But I still don't know how that
Yeah,
feels, right? And it is literally down to the thing of I'm a guy. I cannot. There's certain things in life that women go through that I cannot say to you. I understand that situation or I know how that feels because I have no idea whatsoever. Which is why it's something that I will generally avoid. It's not because I haven't spoken to people about it or I don't have a general knowledge about it. The thing is that I can't say how it feels
yeah,
inside. Yeah, that's the big difference, and the same applies for women talking about men's
yeah,
health. You can't say how it really feels inside a guy, you know, because guys, women and men are brought up in different
yeah,
ways to facilitate different roles, so on and so forth. Maybe it shouldn't be like that, but that's another conversation. But that's generally the way that it is. So how can you have people talk about those things? You can't. But to have a conversation with a mixed gender conversation with regards to the male and female perspective, you know, how things affect me may not be how it affects every guy that's out
yeah,
there. But I can certainly give a male perspective, and I know definitely you can give the female
yeah,
perspective, and hopefully we can help some people. That's the idea.
yeah,
You know, it's good to talk about these things and actually talk about your experiences and what you're doing and where you're coming from, how things affect you in good and both good and bad ways. Um, do you
yeah.
know what I
Of
mean?
course, yeah, completely. Yeah, I mean, I get a little bit frustrated sometimes when I've talked about this in the past, or when I see certain things on social media, because so I couldn't have articulated that any better, to be honest. But yeah, that's basically why, we decided to do this together, was because even other women, I can talk about my experiences as an ADHD woman, a neurodivergent woman, but they might differ slightly to other women. And it's exactly the same with men, and also I've completely forgotten what I was gonna say. It's gone. The fart rain fart has just happened.
Emma, look, you know what, guys? Well, I think women have it a lot harder than what guys do. To be honest with you, right? Guys have it tough for their own unique ways, but women, I think, have it harder because there's this ever changing thing that women go through, which only women go through, and that's through
Yeah,
hormone change. And hormone changes affect the conditions in their own unique ways because every hormone balance is different.
yeah,
Okay, and I think that that affects women in a way that makes their own experiences very, very unique. And for a guy to be able to put their finger on that and say, "This is how a woman feels," that's complete crap. You just can't do it. Even for a woman to say it, it's very difficult. They can say how they feel,
Yep.
but they can't say how all women feel. It's an impossible thing to do. Women are very, very complex in their presentations and very unique. Every woman is very unique. I think guys are, they have their unique attributes, but I think their general experience can be sort of similar in so many
Yep.
ways. Okay, but I think women have that uniqueness which every woman should have. To be honest with you, a woman wouldn't be a woman unless she was unique.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we could pick apart that for the rest of the day, basically. One of the main reasons why I'm grateful to you to agreeing to do this with me is because you were my first male guest back in January or maybe early February this year, and through my partner, it became increasingly obvious to me that men's mental health or men's well-being, and then obviously being a neurodivergent man, it like it's complex, but also it's very hush hush, and it's like, oh, that masculinity type, toxic masculinity type, just you got to just put your head down and get on with it, and shouldn't talk about how you feel, and you shouldn't this and you shouldn't that, just because you're a man. And I'm sorry, but I think I'm just going to call that out. It's bullshit. Like men's mental health and well-being does matter.
I wouldn't say it's bullshit. I'd say it's very sad. I think women. This is where another thing that women are in a lot of ways better off because women talk. Um, that women will talk to each other. There's always a thing of the women going off to the toilet together and having a quick chat. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Women, when they have the opportunity to talk about things, when it's another woman that they trust, they actually do talk to
yeah,
them. Now, for guys, it's different because there's always this, no, I'm hard, I'm gonna stick it through, and I don't feel this and I don't feel that, and I'm gonna do this the right way, and um, nothing gets to me, and I'm never getting down, I don't get depressed, and blah 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 blah. Now that's
yeah,
bullshit at the end of the day, um, and it's something that we need to get away from.
yeah,
We really really do. As human beings, we don't need to be like that. We don't need to be so protective. We all have feelings. We all get hurt. We all feel happy at different times, so on and so forth. Every one of us is unique in their own way. And guys hiding their mental health is, well, basically it leads to a lot of suicide.
suicide. Yeah, in over 40 males over 40 years old, the suicide rate is bad.
Yeah, it's too
Yeah,
high, and that I think is mainly down to the fact of bottling everything up for so many years, uh, not having anyone to talk to, and so on and so forth. That leads to a lot of these problems.
and I think this is one of the main reasons why I am grateful to you for joining me to do this, because apart from anything else, I have all these massive ideas that I want to do, and I lack the ability to plan and execute. But also, I just think, what you've just said there is really important. Like, men need to be able to feel safe enough to find someone to talk to, whether that's in their family, a friend, someone they work with. Like, kind of just men's lives matter as well as kind of do us women. But yeah, I just
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, from a personal experience for me, when I was when I first started going through psychiatrists and stuff like that when I was younger, I mean, I first saw a child psychologist when I was 9. Yeah, and um, it was very difficult for, even then, for me to say anything, right? But to actually talk about things um, outside of that environment where I was talking to a professional was very, very difficult. And I mean, I went through my life of not telling everybody how I felt, not telling people how I questioned myself, um, and how I viewed myself as being so different, and what questioning why I was so different to other people. That made it hard. It makes it hard to get through life when you're constantly, all of the time, questioning yourself, and the only way that you get answers is from
Yeah.
yourself, because you're too not embarrassed, and it's not being ashamed. It's just you're not, as a man, you're not meant to go off and talk about these things to other people. That's the belief, and that's where it goes wrong, because it builds up a
Yeah.
pressure, and it also builds up the wrong picture. You can't, me questioning myself all of the time doesn't mean that I'm going to give myself the right answers all of the time. And a lot of the time, I can't even give myself an
Yeah.
answer, and when you need it the most, that's probably the hardest bit of all, is not being able to get the answers that you need. I mean, sometimes I try and talk to Hannah, my wife, and she gets me, but she doesn't really get me. Um, I've got a good mate who I talk to now, and he sort of gets it. He does sort of get it. Um, but I can see there's a lot of times where he turns off because he's got his own problems,
Yeah.
right? And in a lot of ways, in talking to me about my problems, he has to accept his own problems as well, which can be a problem as in
Yeah.
itself. Facing up and trying to help someone else through their issues, you have to look at,
You're right.
it makes you look at your own.
Yeah.
And blokes aren't taught how to deal with that. We don't do this whole shared experience thing on an emotional level. We do fist bumps and chest bumps and stuff, and talk about manly shit and watch football and rugby and all of that kind of
Cars.
stuff. Cars, yeah, that was cars were my thing. Yeah, yeah, me and my mates and all about cars. Cool, that takes me back to some memories, right? But it was an escape. I never, Christ, when I was going through all of that sort of stuff, I never ever talked to anyone about anything that was going on with me.
Yeah.
When I was diagnosed with ADHD, I was very, very much a case of I've got ADHD. I'm never hidden away from that. To be honest with you, I was quite proud when I got a diagnosis, because it was, to me, it was like a relief, and everybody else just saw me as being over the top about the idea of I've got ADHD. Why are you telling me you've got ADHD?
Because you've
Because
got
I've
it.
got
Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah.
It's for the first time in my life I can understand the person that I am, and it gives me the answers to all of the questions that I've been having for all of these years. And I'm really pleased that someone has actually given me that
Yeah.
diagnosis. Um, I'm not going to hide away from it. I'm not ashamed of it. It's part of who I am.
Yeah. But we're building a life around it now, though, aren't we? Together, separately as well. We're kind of building our lives
Yeah,
around the diagnosis.
yeah, I think that makes a big difference as well. Is that kind of when you get to that point of where you actually really accept it, you know,
Yeah.
I think that's accepting the difference. I keep coming back to this thing. It is different. We're all unique. We're all different. I'm not trying to say that people with ADHD are, not they don't suffer with disability on a daily basis, because it is a very debilitating condition. Same as autism and all the other diagnosis or conditions that fit into neurodivergence. the neurodivergence to me, it just highlights difference. We're different to neurotypical. I hate all of these names that everyone's been given because it's just difference. We just all need to accept instead of putting labels on it all the time. We just need to accept the difference. I think that's one of the biggest things that's got to sort of happen now is we need to accept that difference.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. And I think as well, even just, other women and for you, other men, even if we've diagnosed with the same things, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can relate necessarily to everything between us. There's a mutual understanding, but it's not like the symptoms vary person to person so much, and yeah, ADHD for me is debilitating some days, but then the chronic pain is, the fatigue is, I feel a lot of the time, like during the day, like day in, day out, I'm just juggling a lot of kind of different things. I don't know why I'm doing that. That's a representation of of juggling.
You're juggling. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
juggling. Yeah, this is the thing, and it's
Yeah.
exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. Do you know? I don't really go out as much now as what I used to, and it's kind of nice because I don't have to put on that facade or whatever it is, to do the masking and all that sort of stuff, which again is exhausting. Um, not that I do it as much as what I used to. I still do it. I can't stop doing it, but I still don't. I don't have the facade on in the way that I used to all of the time. To make it though, so I was accepted by people.
Yeah.
Now I've definitely got to the point in my life where I say to myself, I am who I am. Take me or leave
Yeah.
me. It's one of those things. Um, definitely, definitely changed in a lot of ways in regards to that, which was a whole journey on itself. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, like, when you grow up in abusive or toxic environments, and when you kind of as a child you're around trauma a lot, it shapes how you relate to the rest of the world. And for me personally, that was, people pleasing. Like, I just had to make sure everyone around me was okay, because then, the narcissistic mother wouldn't lose her rag with me, or, I just needed, it's like I became the caretaker of everyone, but the person that I never took care of was myself. And, the last couple of years, I've stopped contact with my mother and brother because they're not good for me at all. And I think, like, being that people pleaser for most of my life I was just it sounds sad, but I was desperate for someone to just love me for who I am and how I am, not necessarily yeah, I was starved of it when I was a kid, and that's sad. It's sad for me to say, but that's the reality of my past, and I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm not going to kind of not talk about it, because that was how my childhood was. And I do think now, sitting here talking to you as a late diagnosed ADHD woman who's got all of the interesting medical stuff going on, we're recording ourselves, we're talking about things that are really personal, and I just think all of them experiences were character building to lead me to where I am now, if that makes sense.
yes, yeah, it does. It does.
And I think that's really important, kind of sometimes to highlight. And I'm bad at boasting. I don't really I don't boast. I try, but I just can't. And I just think there's lots of things that have happened in my life that when I get into the headspaces of I can't keep going, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm overwhelmed with everything, I remember back, and it's a little voice in your head. Well, I don't know why you're bothering me. Like she used to sound, the mother that is. You know, why does you're such a drama queen and all that jazz, and you know, it's almost like that past pushes me forward, and that adversity that I went through gives me the strength and the courage to keep putting one foot in the other, day in, day out, and keep making sure that firstly I look after myself, but I kind of do the best that I can in the moment. So I don't know if that's the right way of thinking about it, but it works really well for me when I just feel like I can't keep going.
I think you're doing it in the right way for you. You know, that's the only thing you can only do it as when you talk about these things. You can only talk about it from your personal view. You can't really say that that's going to work or whatever it is for everybody because it
Yeah,
won't. Um, but it might help. Hearing the way that you do things might help someone else figure out what works for them.
yeah,
It may give them a piece of what is what is good for them and what they need to do to make their lives better, um, rather than um, just fumbling along without any real direction. It can give someone the help that they need. This is why it's important to talk about these things. You know, one day someone out there might watch this and then all of a sudden start talking to a mate about the issues that they're going
yeah,
through, right? Which may help them out. But it may also mean that that person that they talk to all of a sudden starts talking back and starts talking and opening up about the things that they're going through. And that could ultimately lead to saving
yeah,
someone's life. That's where you could end up with this because you never know how serious it is for someone else. You know, um, you never know where they're really at. If they're really good at masking, if they're really good at covering up how they feel and putting on the brave front, um, to have someone else come to them and start talking to them about what they're going through to try and open up a bit to then make that other person feel comfortable enough to where they open up and respond as well to help each other through a difficult time. That could be something that's really special.
yeah,
That could really turn into a bond. um, and I think my best mate, he's probably, I've got that kind of bond with him. He doesn't talk to me very often. He was brought up where you literally don't talk about it. His parents were very much, they never discussed any kind of emotion or whatever. They never went through anything with him at all, even to the point of um, being display of love or anything like that. It wasn't there at all. They love him, they do now. They support him and all that sort of stuff, but they don't talk about anything like that. I don't think they know how, to be honest
yeah,
with you. So it's very difficult for him because he's never been taught how to do it. He's never been allowed to open up or whatever. As far as he's concerned, it just doesn't exist. And then I've kind of come along and started talking to him because I feel comfortable with him because he's
yeah,
non-judgmental. I talk to him about what's going on with me, and every now and then he will sit down for a couple of hours with me and just literally get it all off his chest. Yeah, but that's the relationship that we've now built. I understand that he's not going to be ringing me up every bloody day or every couple of days or whatever it is, having a meltdown and you know, giving out his deepest, darkest secrets, right? It happens once every now and
yeah,
then, but it happens when it needs to
yeah,
happen. And that's what I think every guy needs. We need that friend that we can do that with. And I think that's a big difference between men and women. Women do this somehow. They're taught to just do it naturally. Why the bloody hell men aren't just taught to do it naturally? I don't understand. Right? I certainly bring my kids up to where they express themselves in that
yeah,
way. That they don't bottle things up. Bottling things up always leads to trouble in one way or another. Um, and I learnt that the absolute hard way. Yeah, you've got to open up.
Yeah, it's just about trying to find one person, in your life that you feel safe enough with. But yeah, no, I love that. I love the fact that through being honest and talking about things that are going on for you, you're helping your best friend as well. So you're his safe space. Like, and we all need a safe space, don't we? Whether that's a friend, whether it's a family member, whether it's a partner, wife, husband, whoever, we all need that one person that we can.
You need that place that has no
Yeah,
judgment. That's safe space where whatever is said between
yeah,
you, and the advice that is given, if there is any advice, or if it is just a case of someone else just being there to
yeah,
listen, to hear
yeah,
you, to allow you to get it off your
yeah,
chest. That makes a big
yeah.
difference.
And that's very different from listening to help or fix, because we can't help or fix things necessarily in other people's lives, all our own. But just listening, giving the person that space to just talk is such a powerful kind of experience. And you're not, because and my little fixer brain comes on whenever, and I have to try and not stop myself, but stand back a minute and just think, does this person need me to resolve the things they're telling me about, or do they need me to just sit and listen? And a lot of the time people just want for someone to listen without pathologizing, I think, is one of the things that I heard in a psychological research report or whatever it was that I was studying. Just listening is yeah. So to kind of offer that safety and that environment, I think is like, it's so kind of phenomenal to be able to do that. Because you okay, we both went quiet then, didn't we?
Yeah, we both went quiet because we're both thinking about what's being
Yeah,
said, and I think that shows how much of an impact there is in what we're talking about, um, and there actually really is. I'm very jealous of women in the sense of that level of communication, the ability to communicate about things the way that women do. I'm very jealous about that, and I think it is something that if men are honest, that they would love to actually have, to be able to talk openly about what's going on with them, their body, their mind, openly, um, rather than, excuse my frankness, dick measuring all the
yeah.
time,
Pissing
because
contest.
that's all.
I call it a pissing
Yeah,
contest. Dick
yeah,
measure.
that's all it is every time, every single time. That's all it really is. Until you really get to know someone, or unless it's someone that you really click with. But I mean, finding a friendship that me and my mates got is very rare. It's the only one that I've really found in my whole life where I actually feel completely comfortable. And I think it is because, well, I mean, he's now 40. How old is he? He's 47 now, and he's just been diagnosed with ADHD for the first time.
Bless him.
Um, and the only reason he's gone off and got checked to see if he's got it is because people have told him, one, that they think he has it, and two, because his son is autistic and ADHD as
Yeah,
well. Right? So he thought, oh, maybe there is something going on with me. If I've produced a child that has got this, maybe there is something going on with me. And he's gone off and he's done the test, and he done the test believing in himself. He believed that he wouldn't be ADHD, right? And he was quite shocked when it came back that he was ADHD. And he went there to do everything he possibly could, I think, not to be labelled, because he didn't want to be labelled. That was the biggest fear that he
yeah,
had. But now he has been. It's given him a degree of clarity. It's given him a lot of questions in the same way as what he did with me, but it's given clarity too. It explains a lot. And some of that is just really, it's just superb. It's superb. Answering those questions that you've had rattling around in your head for 30 years. just is amazing.
Yeah.
It can be such an amazing thing when you do actually get a diagnosis that explains so much about what's been going on and what you've been living through. Yeah, it's a special kind of time, really.
Yeah. I've just gone all goose pimply because I can just remember back to thinking, yeah, it was insane because I was promoted at work and I went to sit, a different lady come to sit next to me and I didn't know that she had ADHD. And we were in the office one day and we worked in an open office and it was just me and her at the desks where the team sat. And she leant over and she said to me, Emma, you do realise you've got ADHD, don't you? And I literally laughed in her face, like embarrassingly, laughed in her face. And I was like, because my stereotypical kind of little boy, boisterous, classroom, running around, being a pain in the ass, blah, 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 was my only kind of reference to ADHD that I had. And then she explained a little bit about her and said, she was diagnosed as a teenager and she's got like an ADHD radar now. And then I just laughed and I was like, no, I haven't got ADHD. And she's like, yeah, you have. And then a few weeks later, I went into the office and she'd printed off like a survey offline and left it on my desk. And I looked around at her and she was like, give me the old eyebrow raise and was just like, yeah. And I put it in my drawer and it was a few weeks later, maybe I was in the office on my own and I opened the drawer to get something and I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to humour her and I'm going to fill it out just so I can prove to her that I have not got ADHD because I need to prove to her that she's wrong and I'm right. And I filled it in and the score was 98%. And I sat there like, literally like, I've got ADHD. Like literally, and I was just like, it was almost like there was about a million pennies dropping. And it was, and a lot of it was because I'd obviously read through the questions and answered them. So I then had a different kind of frame of reference to understand ADHD from. And yeah, it was just like, it just was weird. And then within 3 to 6 months, I think I'd been seen by a psychiatrist and yeah, she diagnosed me, with ADHD and also complex personality traits. It's that word complex again. And what did she say in the report? That my complex personality traits were because of my childhood trauma or whatever. I can't remember exactly what she said. But she said, Miss Craven doesn't just simply have ADHD. There's lots of other things going on there as well. And I was like, oh, for God's sake, give me just one diagnosis and stop. But yeah, it's like, it just fell in, it just, everything kind of just, I started making sense to myself for the first time ever. Because
see, that's the bit, isn't it? That's the bit. It's that all of a sudden things make sense. All of those things that you'd questioned for so long, trying to find a reason as to why you were different to other people, and then all of a sudden, there it is. It just becomes. There's a clarity that comes from it. It gives you a shitload more questions, but there is a clarity that comes with it as well.
Yeah.
Or there certainly was for me, anyway.
Yeah. And I think as well, what you've said about women, and you wish that you had the ability to be able to talk about more openly about kind of your experiences or your feelings and stuff like that. It's kind of, it's not necessarily that cut and dry for me anyway. I can only talk about my experiences, and it's only since that I've found friends, made friends through my university, or like adult friends, as in not friends that I've had since I was at school, and they've also got ADHD, that I've become extremely comfortable talking, like being myself. But yeah, I struggled with non-ADHD people and like communication, and feeling safe and comfortable. And because I go two ways: either I blurt out everything and tell you my life story within 5 seconds, or I just don't say anything about myself. And it's kind of it's weird, because the safety element of me kind of opening myself up to be vulnerable has almost kind of it's controlled my life to a point. And now I don't really care anymore. I just it's that I do care, but I don't care. And it would only be with my very, very close friends that would really know whether I was all right or not all right. And I wouldn't be able to smile and say, yeah, I'm fine, thank you, when you're not really fine. You're dying inside, and you've got RSD and CPTSD, and you've got this, and your emotions, and you're crying, and you're menopausal, and you want to eat chocolate, and you want to just scream and stuff. Trust for me is really hard won, and so it will take me a considerable amount of time to kind of trust someone that doesn't have ADHD. If you've got ADHD, then you're usually all right. But if if you haven't, because there's been so many times when I've said something and the person's looked back at me, and when you can read what they're thinking, because you just know by the look on their face. And it's just like, what? So I have been selective on who I've opened up to in the past, and I suppose I still am to a certain point. But I just think that comes from that fear of being judged, or fear of being laughed about behind my back, or I don't know, silly things like that. But I think in the last couple of years also, I don't know, the closer to 50 I got, the less I give a shit about what other people think. I still do care sometimes, but it's not as much now. I kind of just roll with whatever goes on in the day. And I think for me, unmasking has been the greatest experience of my whole life. Because
in what way?
Because it's so empowering. So I think it's not necessarily going to be the best thing that maybe I could say because of. First of all, masking was exhausting. I was just so tired and burnt out from doing it, even though I didn't realise I was doing it, if that made sense. But I think for me, I did some strength-based coaching, and like a few years ago, and it was the first time in my life that I just focused on my strengths rather than the negatives, and kind of started off like my reframing thing, and the brain is just completely and utterly gone again. I can't even remember what I was talking about now. This is menopause, by the way. This is menopause brain.
It's not just menopause,
brain fog.
It's ADHD.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Because I get this as well. I get this brain fog that just comes over, so I completely forget exactly what I was talking about. Can't even remember the concept of what I was.
Yeah. It's right? Gone.
So don't worry about it. It's just one of those things. It's one of the quirks of having the condition.
Yeah. Yeah. But
not everybody suffers with it, but some of us really do. I mean, I'm terrible at it. I can sit down and write things, really, really, really write things. But sometimes when it comes to actually verbalizing those or articulating them in a verbal sense, it just doesn't work. I just can't recall the information to be able to do it. The brain just literally freezes up.
Yeah.
Gets covered in a fog. I can't find the information anywhere. But then if I walk away from that situation, sit down and go to write it, completely different.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of emails when I had my last job. I was always doing very long emails. A lot of the management used to comment on that, but that's because it was, it was how I could articulate everything that I needed to.
Yeah,
So don't worry.
once we get going with all of the amazing things we're going to do, please don't send me long-winded emails because my brain can't read them. Like or I'm going to just need a frigging read aloud. I'll have to get the software read aloud because I don't know about anyone else, but my brain, I can't read like huge chunks of text, written words, and take it in at the same time. So yeah, it's weird. And I've just remembered I was talking about unmasking, wasn't I? So
Yeah.
it's come back again. So I think it's been more fun for me and everyone around me since I started my unmasking journey, and I only could manage. I only like made a few steps in the right direction with unmasking my ADHD after I did the strength-based coaching and really kind of focused just on like my strengths. And that doesn't mean to say that I don't have challenges every day, because I do. You know, ADHD throws up all of the things that we're talking about: physical health, mental health, neurodivergence. It throws up different things on different days. Some days it's debilitating, other days I feel like I can change the world in 5 minutes and all that jazz. But I think I didn't realize how much I masked of my, not just my ADHD, but my personality, until I started unmasking, if that makes any sense. But I think by just finding, so looking at just the strengths, and kind of reframing me, not just my ADHD, but me as a whole, just gave me self-acceptance, gave me a little bit of confidence, gave me the confidence, to kind of be quite outspoken like I am on LinkedIn regularly. But also, I think a lot of the senior management within my university all say to me that they learn more from me by me just having a conversation with them than they would if they did a course to understand about ADHD. And that is because I turn up as me. There's no airs and graces. I'm just me, and I turn up as me. And I think the feedback in regards to that is kind of, by unmasking, I just, it's just enabled me to be able to talk about my ADHD and my ADHD experiences without me feeling ashamed of oh no, I've always been like this, or I've always had FOMO, or RSD is literally like physical pain some days. And things like that emotional dysregulation where you don't, emotional hyperarousal where you don't even know that you're going to lose your rag. It's there and you're losing your rag and you don't know why. And it's like, for me, unmasking and just being me is been an empowering thing for me. But I think I've caused a lot of work for lots of people that have been around me because it's just like I turn up as me, and yeah, it's just made me more outspoken. It's made me more kind of my advocacy stuff to become more fierce because
It's made you authentic, hasn't
yes,
it?
yes, exactly, and for me it's fun because I don't have to pretend to be anything that I'm not, and it's as simple as that. So yeah, unmasking.
Do you know what? Do you find? Let me ask
Yeah,
you, right? Do you find that you've got more energy
yep,
now? You're more bubbly. You feel more
yep,
alive, more at ease with
yep,
yourself. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling
yep,
to be able to just sort of do it. Because I've sort of got to that point where I don't give a shit
yep, me
anymore,
too.
and the difference in my energy levels is, yeah,
Yeah. And another,
there is,
yeah, yeah, you have, yeah, it's just, it's freeing. It's like, it's almost like taking the straitjacket off. Like we're taking the straitjacket
yeah, that's
off.
a good way. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, because obviously, we've been wrapped in that straitjacket all of our lives, and I don't know if it's because of our age as well. Because I am starting to see a bit of a kind of a trend in not just me, but in my friends that are the similar age or people that I went to school with, the ones I'm still in contact with. It's almost like I've hit 50 and then I just don't give a shit anymore. If something goes in my head, I just say it out loud. And but it's not bad. It doesn't mean to say that it's disrespectful or anything. It's just, I just think like I've got to, I don't know whether everyone gets to around our age and just something unconsciously happens and we don't care. We're just going to say it or do it or whatever. It's weird.
I think I think that everybody reaches that stage at some point, or most people do, should I say? Not everybody. Um, I think most people reach a point where they just go, I don't care
Yeah.
anymore. They realise that all of the stuff that they've been trying to do in this facade that they've kept up over all of these years is just
Yeah.
bullshit. And all it does is it just leads you to lose yourself completely.
Yeah.
Until you end up living a lie completely, and you don't know what to believe about yourself anymore. You lose
Yeah.
yourself. I think all of a sudden you just go, okay, that's enough of that, and now I'm just going to be me, and it changes
Yeah.
you
Massively.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's not saying that you can just stop overnight. You have to do it it happens as a gradual thing. You can't just go, I'm not going to mask anymore, and turn up at work as the full authentic you. Because then that's not taking the straitjacket off. That's generally would end up putting a straitjacket on. Or I know it would in my case.
Or needing bail money. You'd have to be ringing me and saying, can you come and bail me out?
If I'd have done that in my last job, and just literally gone home one night and just got up the next morning and walked in and gone, well, hey, here I am.
Good morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who the
fuck are you? You've had a personality transplant.
Yeah. I probably would have been carted off in a little white ambulance this night.
With a double straitjacket on.
Yeah, innit? Yeah, they'd chain my legs as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, it is, it's a slow process. And some days with unmasking, it's 2 steps forwards, 10 steps back. Other days it's 1 step forward. And then the next day, 2 steps forward and then maybe 1 or 2 back. And it
Do you know what I've noticed as well with it is every now and then I will actually slip back into masking, and all of a sudden I realise what I'm doing, and it's just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why have you felt the need to all of a sudden be like this other person? Because that's what you're doing, is you become a different person completely. Yeah. It's like you hide from yourself. Yeah. It's just so bizarre, such a weird feeling. When you can see it, when you realise it, when you come through the other side of it and you look back and you think, why the bloody hell did I do that?
Yeah. And I find it in some of the advocacy that I do within my university, and then and then sometimes in the community, I can find myself going into like more of a masking type straitjacket. But I think recognizing it now is quicker and easier for me to see it in myself. It's just not always easy for me to completely unmask. Except for the podcast, because I don't edit anything out anymore. I just leave it as authentic as it is. Because I just, yeah.
Well, you could have warned me before we started this conversation that you're not going to edit it.
You've had your hair done and everything.
I know, I did get
hair done. There you go then.
It's strange from the message now. You had your hair.
Yeah, yesterday, but I didn't have it specially done. No, I did get it specially done. No,
I was starting to look like bloody Einstein.
I'm joking. I was joking. Honestly. And that's one of the only things that keeps me going through some days is humour. laughing at myself, not in a bad way, but just thinking, what the frig is going on?
You know what? The one thing that I really enjoy is putting my feet up on the coffee table and just having an hour watching the telly. Just a moment of complete peace and zen.
Yeah.
That's just good enough for me. And the rest of it I can deal with. As long as I've got an hour in the telly, just for an hour, just putting some kind of crap on. Half the time I don't even watch it. Right? It's just that moment of a little bit of background noise and a bit of peace. That's it. I'm happy.
And with 2 young children, I think the piece might be hard one.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very. But you know, sometimes it's late at night. Other times it's during the day. It just depends on what's going on and whether or not they're in nursery or
Yeah.
playgroup or whatever that they're doing. It's like today. I'll have an hour before they come home today, just to prepare myself for the chaos that then ensues. This is the joys of having a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yep.
You know, they definitely keep you on your toes.
Yes.
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 So what else are you talking about, eh?
And I don't know if you've noticed, but when we used to talk about the, you know, you're not having a lot of sleep because you've got 2 young children, and I used to say to you, oh, it's okay, but it'll get better one. It's all right, they'll sleep through the night soon. And it was like, that's not really that helpful, is it, Emma? And I'm like, no, I'm really sorry, but no, it's not.
I don't get sleep anyway, but the kids just sort of add to my own brain's inability to shut down at night. You know, I used to get some kind of not shut off, but I used to get the eyes closed.
Yeah.
That doesn't really happen now.
No.
Or it does lately. I must say, lately they are getting better. They are definitely getting better. Anyway, we're digressing from the topic.
But they're all important conversations, aren't they? So why is it important for not only us to have these conversations, but for us to kind of have friends like we are each other? Like what I think it's really important, because I think I learned so much more from you about men than I would reading it in a book or whatever. Did that make any sense to you? Because it didn't really make sense to me, even though it came out of my mouth.
What do you mean?
So I think it's in.
Why is it important to have these kind of relationships?
Yeah, friendships. Yeah.
I think it's really, you know, relationships with people, the friendships and all that sort of stuff. They are important. It's important to have, especially. You know, I've got you, and I've got a couple of other really good female friends who I do talk to, who give me a different perspective. I think that's really valuable as a guy to actually have women that you can just sort of talk to. You know, nothing else is going on or whatever it is. It's just literally a friend. That's important.
Yeah. And that's equally important for me as well, because we have the same perspectives, but sometimes very different perspectives. And like, you know, my partner, I'm 1,000,000% safe with him, my daughter, you know, and some friends that I've known for a long time. And I think it's like for me, trust and safety is a bit of a challenge still some days. But I think when I do find people that kind of get me without me having to explain, then yeah, that's the kind of friendships that I want. Yeah, type of relationships.
I think that's the sort of friendship that we all want.
Yeah.
You don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to explain yourself. You just kind of be yourself and just get on
Yep.
with it. I think they're the best friendships too.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I think, yeah, it's really, really important to kind of just highlight that as well. So what's going to come from us in the next few weeks now? What's the plan? I had the idea. You've got the, you know, we're going to talk about a couple of.
What do you mean you've had the idea, and now it's down to me to work out what's going on.
It was
This
your
is
idea, and I'm planning.
this is your podcast.
But I'm talking about what we're going to do going forward for the next few weeks. No, it was your idea, and it is my plan. So I think next week we might talk about physical health, maybe touch on that a little bit more.
I think what we'll do is we just over the next couple of weeks or whatever it is, we'll just look at other things, different things in a male and a female perspective. I think we've sort of given them the idea today, giving everyone the idea of where we're going to go with this and what it's going to
Yep.
be like, and either people are going to really like it or they're just going to think it's a load of
Yep.
drivel. But it will help people out there, I'm sure of
Yep.
it. So we'll just take a different topic. So whatever topic it is that sort of we choose, or you know, if there's something that out there that people want us to particularly talk
Yep.
about, then just drop a message or whatever it is on LinkedIn, and then we'll look at, you know, talking about whatever it is people want us to talk about, and try and give a specific perspective view on how it is that is affecting us, which may be similar to things that other people are feeling or going through at the same time.
Yeah, amazing. Couldn't have said that better myself, which is why I let you say it.
I'm sure I could have, but I'm sort of questioning what I just said there.
No, don't.
But there you go.
I don't. It's, yeah, so if any of the listeners would like us, me and Neil, to talk about any specifics, then please let us know. Either you can email or you can message me on LinkedIn, or even on Spotify. I think you can comment on an episode if you want us to talk about a specific topic. Like, you know, we're pretty well, I kind of have a plan in my head, but that's as far as it's got. So Neil's more of the planner, I'm more of the ideas. But yeah, we're just going to go on a journey and just see where we end up. But yeah, for today, Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Kerry, my partner's just started laughing because it says to me every time, he says, "You say that all the time," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's because it is." I'm ADHD and he's autistic, so you know it's a very kind of interesting household. But yeah, I'm the storm and he's the calm. That's what I tell everyone. You know, I'm like the whirlwind that comes in and messes everything up and then goes again. And I'm on to the next thing, and he's just sitting there like, "What the is going on? What is she up to now? For God's sake!" It works though. It works with the two of us. Bless him. Yeah, patience of a saint. I think he needs some days. Pardon? Medication. He says. Medication. Anyway, for today, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks, Neil, for taking the time. You know, we can both get quite busy in our daily lives, and we've both got big things going on at the moment. But yeah, thank you for your time today. And yeah, it's going to be an interest. Sorry, a frog in my throat all of a sudden. I can edit that bit out. It's going to be an interesting next few weeks. So yeah, to the listeners, followers, whoever, if you've got to the end of this hour and a bit episode, then buckle down, because the next few weeks are going to be just have some interesting and crazy conversations. So yeah, Neil, for today, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, to my listeners, follow, like, I just said that, didn't I? I'm not going to repeat it again. So anyway, thank you for today, and bye-bye for now. And
yeah, thanks, Sam. It's been an absolute
oh, yeah,
pleasure.
sorry, I didn't let you say goodbye, did I? It's always a pleasure, though. Always. Always a pleasure. I'm sure you need headache tablets sometimes, though. I just imagine you with your forehead on the desk some days thinking, no, please, not any more ideas, not today. The cognitive load is too much right now. But yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. I've just realised. It's been an absolute pleasure. Oh my God, the wheels are falling off. Anyway, thanks, Neil, for your time. But yeah, thanks for today. Goodbye now.